Hey everybody, good to see you all again. I want to welcome you back to New York City. It's good to be back in the Big Apple, good to be back in the big leagues, my friends. Flights were crazy. I'm not sure if anybody's traveled today, but coming out of Miami to New York, crazy delays. I think I was late about 2.5 hours. All right, we'll get started here in just a moment. Thanks for joining. All right, what's up everybody? Welcome back to Walks in Wall Street. Today is Monday, and finally we have some summer weather here in New York City. We're standing right outside of 432 Park Avenue, and it looks absolutely spectacular tonight. We're going to be walking downtown, headed back to Penn Station, 34th Street. Now this building is quite unique, quite nice. This is 425 Park Avenue. This is one of the newest, and I should say most eco-friendly buildings, not only in New York City, but in the entire United States. Right here. Man, thank God the weather is finally nice out. Now, as you know, I was in Miami, an amazing trip. Every time I go back to South Florida, I mean, I get more and more optimistic. I get more and more bullish, not only on Miami, Florida, but just on America. You know, those emerging cities like Miami just really give you the vision into the future of this country. And it's going to be unbelievable. I'm fully convinced that the best is yet to come. Oh, it is Tuesday. It is not Monday. You're right. I'm getting my dates mixed up. You know, Tatted T, you're correct. It is Tuesday. I was supposed to fly back Monday, but I couldn't. I had a meeting. But it is Tuesday. You're right. Tomorrow's Wednesday, almost halfway through the week already. So good catch. When I was down in Miami, it felt over 100 degrees with the heat index. But I loved it. It was amazing. It was blue skies, felt like 107 degrees every day. It was my kind of weather. And thankfully, when I landed in New York, it was like 68 degrees today in New York City, so it was beautiful. Great day. Let's see who we have in the chat. I see New England Crypto. What's going on? Thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it. Yeah, Mike Skate TV, Jojo. Yeah, it's good to be back in New York. I feel at home. I feel at home in Miami too, but for some reason I feel anchored here in New York. Man, we have a lot to talk about over the next coming week. Tomorrow is going to be a massive day, major day. We're probably going to spend the entire 2-hour live stream talking about Nvidia. Yes, Nvidia is reporting earnings tomorrow as we look directly down Park Avenue here. And I'd say that's really the last major company that, you know, the market is really riding on having Nvidia have a really solid report, right? I always give this free resource. If you go to slickcharts.com, so slickcharts.com, just click on the S&P 500 and it will give you a line item breakdown of all the companies in the S&P 500 weighted by market cap. And as we know, as these tech giants grow to these multi-trillion-dollar companies, well, they're going to have a higher weighting in the S&P 500. So if one of these companies bomb earnings, right, and they're down 10% after hours, well, the market's probably going to take a little bit of a hit overall. Same thing you could say in the inverse. You know, if we have a monster beat and raise earnings report, which we always talk about, those beat and raise report, well, that could be a big character change for the market. Lena Sandoval is here. Nikki says, I hope they will announce a split. Interesting. Deborah is here. What's going on? NNB 45, always a pleasure to have you here. Thanks so much for joining. NNB 45. I was seeing a lot of Canadian license plates down in Miami, which it's common, but it's not common. It's common during peak season, not so common during off-peak season. So one of the things I've been noticing, this is a quick takeaway, from Miami, South Florida, Palm Beach, Fort Lauderdale, you know, we can kind of, you know, group all of those together in one. I feel as if it's becoming less transient in nature, and people are deciding to make South Florida a primary place to do business. And I think that's a very interesting trend to watch. Hold on, just let me put on my do not disturb mode. Here we go. Anyway, I think that's a very interesting trend to watch. People choosing South Florida, particularly Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Palm Beach, as a permanent place, as opposed to more of a pied-à-terre, so to speak. Maybe they just snowbird, things like that. So, interesting trend, very bullish and optimistic on Miami. The place was absolutely rocking when I was down there. Joe Ratz, what's up? Says, good evening, Tom and team. Always appreciate you joining us. Aldo says, good morning, Tom from Scotland. It's funny, my brother's in Scotland, or he's going to Scotland for a wedding. One of his friends is getting married, and they're having one of those, what do you call it, destination weddings? And he will be in Scotland. Beautiful country. Beautiful country. Jack CW says, what do you think about Sweetgreen's recent stock success? No, I mean, the whole group, here's what I'll say, and I think that's a great question. The whole entire QSR group, right, quick service restaurant, has been performing really well. So if you pull up, I don't know what kind of software you use, if you have a Bloomberg terminal, if you have Market Surge, Market Smith, whatever you want to call it, you can look at the stocks in that particular group, okay? And the leaders in that group, obviously number one is Chipotle, right? The leader in that group. Number two, I would say, has been Wingstop, ticker symbol WING, Wing. And then you probably have like the new emerging companies like Kava and the like. And Sweetgreen's actually starting to pick up steam and perform rather well when it's been a pretty big laggard. Now, I'll say this. I don't think there's as big of a market for healthy food than there is like semi-healthy food. But every time you walk into a Sweetgreen or walk down the street and you see a Sweetgreen in Manhattan, it's always packed. Particularly in Midtown Manhattan when it's nice out. there's a line wrapping around the block for Sweetgreen, right? On the other hand, I don't think the TAM, or the total addressable market for healthy salad food, is as big as, you know, Mexican food like Chipotle, right? Or even Mediterranean food for that matter from Cava. I'm not a salad guy. I never eat salad. Now, I think I'm pretty healthy and I think I eat healthy food. I just can't stand for the life of me eating salad. Does anybody agree with that or disagree? What do we think the TAM is? Now, it's a great company. I mean, I'm all supporting people eating healthier, the United States in general eating healthier, but let's just be honest, from a business standpoint, what's a larger TAM? You know, fast casual Mexican food or salads every day? I don't know. I don't think you're gonna have a repeat customer base eating a salad every day. You can have a massive repeat customer base that buys a burrito bowl every day. That's what I think. Melee says disagreeing. Rich New Yorker says no salads. Wendy says nope, I love salads. Dario says I agree. Alan says I really want to try Cava. There's just none around me yet. DC says you could eat it every day. Peter. Oh, Peter, by the way, my friend, I just got back to the office today. I walked in the office like 6:30 tonight, and I see a package on my desk. The secretary's like, you have a package on your desk. Thank you, sir, for your very nice package. Thank you very much. I appreciate you, and I really do appreciate it. So thank you very much for that. Joel PM says a huge salad for lunch and your stomach, yeah, it's gonna be growling by 3:30 p.m. for sure. Now, I guess that could actually be a bowl thesis for Sweetgreen. You may have to go 2 or 3 times, right? But anyway, you know, to kind of get back to the question, yeah, the group has been performing pretty good. The group has been performing really, really well. There was an interesting article over the weekend in the Wall Street Journal talking about immediate, what was the name? You can Google it and you can look at it. But it was all about immediate luxuries. And apparently there's data that's coming out that shows that due to the economic environment of just millennials and Gen Zs, it was a weird thesis, but we'll just go with it. They said due to the new economic environment of millennials and Gen Zs, actually thinking that their economic outlook is less bright than, you know, boomers, they're indulging more on immediate luxuries, is what the article called. Oh, hold on. Oh, I thought he was talking to me.
What's that?
Oh, there's 2 people trying to get the cab. I thought they were yelling at me. I was just in the crossfire. I was like, what's going on? Anyway, there's 1,000 taxis in New York City. I think they'll be good. Or just share it. Anyway. Oh, that guy almost got hit. See, we're back in New York. We're right back in the swing of things. This is a university club to our right. But anyway, they were talking about immediate luxuries, how millennials and Gen Z are more likely to spend much more of their disposable income on travel, on going out to eat. And maybe that's why this, you know, these fast casual things are really taking off. You know, even places like, you know, coffee shops, you know, more likely to, you know, indulge on those immediate luxuries. And I think that's a pretty decent bull thesis. Anyway, I don't own Sweetgreen, but more power to them. I'm trying to figure out, oh, Jack CW. So Jack, if you're interested in Sweetgreen, right, and if you're gonna go a little bit deeper into the stock and do some additional analysis, you gotta pull up another web browser here. Look at how nice this outdoor dining setup is. You gotta pull up an additional web browser. Okay, go to YouTube and type in Sweetgreen Ghost Kitchen. And it's gonna bring you to their website, which outlines exactly that. Their go-to-market strategy with ghost kitchens. So you walk into the Sweetgreen and there's no people. It's just you order at a kiosk, kind of like the kiosks that you order at if you go to McDonald's or something like that. And you tell it the order you want, it gets sent to the robot, and it's like a robot mechanical arm that makes your salad in the most perfect portions possible, right? So when we talk about robotics, really the main trends is AI and robotics, right? Automation. Think about the increase in gross margin, or just margin in general, to these quick service restaurant companies if you omit, right, or completely banish human error. What do I mean? Well, chances are if you've ever been to a Chipotle or a Sweetgreen, you go to the guy and say, hey, I'll take some white rice. He gives you a little white rice. Maybe if he's nice, you could say, hey, can I just get a little more of that white rice? Or can I just get a little more chicken? And then maybe they don't charge you, right? The robot always will give you the exact portion down to the grain of rice, the perfect weight. So there's going to be no slippage from that aspect. That could quite literally, add 2 to 3 points of an increase to margins. So automation, I think people are severely underestimating this. Imagine going into a Chipotle, imagine going into a Sweetgreen and having all of them, the line people, the people who are working on the line that are dishing out the rice and the chicken, those people are going to go away. It'll automatically make it for you in the perfect portion, but there'll still be employees that prep all of the food, right? So if one of the ingredients gets a little bit low, they'll refill it, but you'll always have the same experience. From a end user experience will always be the same, which is actually very good, by the way, because there's a lot of people that go to Chipotle and say, the guy ripped me off. He didn't give me enough rice. He didn't give me enough chicken. You're always going to have the same expectation now. And I think that's going to be a huge trend that a lot of restaurants are going to adopt. Oh, that's right. 772. This is Tom, RIP Red Lobster. The 1990s, early 2000s, it was definitely the best restaurant. Yeah, they officially filed for bankruptcy, which is sad, but I don't know. I think, life will move on. We'll see what happens. I actually just passed the Red Lobster in Miami, and quite ironically, it seemed pretty packed. Hey, Evan Weeks, what's going on? Big task at hand. So Tom, do you prefer wired or wireless headphones? I prefer wired now to wireless because I'm irresponsible, and that's the truth. I preferred wired headphones to wireless because I am an irresponsible adult. That's the truth. I'll lose them, I forget to charge them, and then they're paperweights, and then they're fumbling around in my bag. I'm losing them on the train. With a wired headphone, it's less responsibility for me. It's the honest truth. Hey, what's up, Solo 401? Good to see you. Sunshine After Rain says portion control. Big task at hand says I wanted to ask you about Red Lobster. I'm not super in the know about Red Lobster. I think we could just talk about it from a general trend. And, the restaurant business is an extremely low margin business in terms of sit-down restaurants. So if people are going to sit down and have a meal, they're more likely to go to a higher, more upscale restaurant, right? This is what all the data is showing us. And we know this data because you could just go to Chipotle, Sweetgreen, Kava's earnings report, and that's what they're saying. They say the consumers that go to Chipotle, hold on one second. They say the consumers that go to a Chipotle, a Kava, a Sweetgreen, it's a certain type of consumer that will be very loyal and very repeat customers and clients for quick takeout. It's called quick service restaurant. But if you're going to sit down, the consumer trend is, okay, if we're going to spend time out of our day to actually sit down somewhere and eat, go with our family to sit down and eat, the trend is shifting more towards higher end, right? If you're going to spend the money, you're going to go higher end. So Red Lobster's tried to be like an affordable option, but unfortunately, it actually kind of backfired in their face. Again, I'm not an expert in Red Lobster, but from my understanding, when I was reading about it, the management team got together and they wanted to jumpstart sales, right? They wanted to start back up the trend of same-store sales growth. So they brought back the endless shrimp promotion, right? You go to Red Lobster, you get the endless shrimp, and apparently it didn't bring in any new customers. It's the existing customers that already went to Red Lobster just absolutely totally took advantage of the promotion, and it lost them multiple millions of dollars. And I think that was the last nail in the coffin. At least that's the story we hear in the Wall Street Journal. What do you guys think of these new subway awnings here? These are going to be all throughout the city pretty soon. Hey, Norm is here from Bangor, Pennsylvania. So Norm. Kimberly says hello, Tom and chat. So Kimberly. This is Phil says yes, since they started selling the Cheddar Bay biscuits in the store, there's no need to go there now. Oh, I didn't even know that they sell them in the store. Jack CW says, did you see the franchisees are pushing back against the McDonald's $5 meal? I did not see that. I could probably see why. They're probably not going to make much money on it. But then again, in McDonald's earnings report that came out, they said they're starting to lose some of the lower end customer, or some of the lower income customer. They're starting to lose from McDonald's. Charles D says Tesla made a jump today on the positive side. Yeah, you know, it's interesting about Tesla. I believe we talked about this, what, 2-3 weeks ago when Tesla reported earnings. So after the earnings report that came out for Tesla, the stock just totally capitulated and fell apart, and it made a brand new 52-week low. And I think right on the stream I said, okay, this is probably most likely the bottom for Tesla. The stock probably bottomed then. And that's really how markets bottom. You'll see a continuous gap down, a capitulation, and this really, really waterfall aggressive selling, and everybody will have such negative sentiment. You know, I've been even seeing some of the Tesla maximalists, right, the Tesla maxis that, you know, follow Elon Musk to almost like the point of a cult, have been kind of turning on the company and second guessing Elon. But if you actually go back and read the outlook or the guidance, Elon Musk told us that there was going to be a major, major hit to gross margins. He told us this like a year and a half ago. And the reason for that is because he needs to be price competitive with BYD and the other competitors that are just totally outpricing Tesla. So in the short term, he's had to slash prices, right? So just absolutely crush the resale value of anybody who owns a Tesla. But that is a short-term play, right? You've got to drive the price down so you can get these cars into the hands of more consumers. Then margin should recover into Q1 of 2025 and out, you know, looking into 2026. So I don't own Tesla, okay? I'm not telling anybody to buy it, but if I had to like flip a coin and just make a fun guess, I'd say that that stock bottomed 3 weeks ago. That's what I would say. Now, once Tesla breaks over the 200-day moving average and makes a new 52-week high, I will be in there buying that stock all the way up into record highs, assuming it can make it there. But that's kind of the line in the sand. Now, speaking of Teslas, guys, I saw the most amazing Cybertruck in Sunny Isles Beach ever. It was this matte blue Tesla Cybertruck driving right up the main drag there in Sunny Isles. Let me see if I could show it to you. Give me a second. I think I have the picture on my phone. Stand by 1 second. Let me know if you guys could see this on the screen. Give me a thumbs up if you could see this. So I was coming back from the Turnberry Ocean Club. I was doing some work, and right up beside me comes this unreal matte blue. I really hope you guys could see this. Before I explain, let me see, read the chat. Oh, you guys can see it? Yeah, so this was driving directly up Sunny Isles Beach. It was the coolest Cybertruck I have ever seen in my life. Matte blue. It was even better than the Grateful Dead one that was at 432 Park. So when you see something like that, and I noticed something when I was driving up, everybody in their surrounding vehicles was taking photos, taking videos, you know, even people on the sidewalk. It was breaking everybody's neck. Like seriously, even mine. Broke my neck too. When you have a product that can do that, like get ready. Like it's about to be a freaking rocket ride. So that's my prediction. I know a lot of people don't like it. I love it. I love the Cybertruck. I love EVs. And I think that thing is going to be unbelievable. It's just a cool, looks like a concept car almost. All right, let me get it off the screen. Give me a second. Now, what is also interesting, ladies and gentlemen, is half the chat loves the Cybertruck as much as I do, but half the chat hates it. And I think that's okay. I think that's an interesting point, because Tesla has always been very polarizing. I think Elon Musk is not, you know, it's either you love the guy, and many people like love him to the point where they worship the guy, or people absolutely hate him. Jack D says, then why don't you own the stock? Because I only buy stocks. I don't buy stocks in a downtrend. I only buy stocks in an uptrend. It doesn't matter how much I love the company. So once Tesla makes a new 52-week high and breaks back above the 200-day moving average and the 50-day moving average, it has to make its way through that overhead supply. There's just too much overhead. It's from a risk management standpoint, right? But I'll get back in the stock and I'll buy that stock again once it makes its way through the majority of that overhead. Now you would say, well, then you're going to miss all the gains. That's okay. The majority of a stock's gains happens when they go through new highs. You have to reach a new all-time record high to get to the next all-time record high. So you mitigate your risk, right? In the investment business, it's important not only to make the money, right? But it's to have a systematic framework for investing that you can replicate, okay? It's kind of like, you know, there's a lot of people that speculate and they gamble on these meme stocks. Yeah, there's a lot of people that say, oh my God, I made $1 million buying GameStop. It doesn't really mean anything because you can't replicate that process over long periods of time at a very high AUM or high asset under management. So I have a process and a system, and I don't buy stocks in downtrends, and I don't buy stocks below the 200-day moving average. But what earnings are telling us is that this stock should recover, and if it does, I will be there to buy it back. If not, I won't own it. But it'll be interesting to see. But that is my take, high level, on Tesla. I think the stock bottomed 2 weeks ago. I think that was the low. But I don't own it, but I will own it. once it works through that overhead and breaks back above the 200-day. Now, another interesting statistic about individual stocks, and we actually ran this study, most true market leaders, or TMLs, once they top, there's an 80% chance they're cooked, they're done for either forever or for a very, very long time. So if you look at some of the true market leaders or the TMLs of the past, right, some of the best performing stocks, let's just say over the last 5 years, just so we can work with a simple data set. All throughout COVID, right, the COVID stocks, Teladoc, ticker symbol TDOC, Peloton, ticker symbol PTON, which is probably going to go out of business, Zoom, ticker symbol ZM. These stocks went up hundreds, if not thousands of %. Once those stocks top, they're cooked forever, and they'll probably never recover all the way. Tesla, over time, has been such a statistical anomaly, such an anomaly. Usually, if a stock declines 80+%, very seldom, very, very seldom, will it ever come back. And if it does come back, it's going to take 10 years. Tesla has been a crazy anomaly. So it's important, if you're buying individual stocks, you got to risk manage. You can't afford to hold these things down 80%. That's why it's probably best just to buy an index, so you get the diversity, right? But Tesla has been a crazy anomaly. You know, Tesla's had 75% plus drops, I think over 4 times or 5 times, including the pandemic, and it's come back every time, which is not common at all. It's actually very uncommon. Hey, what's up, Tom M? Hey, Trade Brigade, what's going on? Says VOO and chill, as they say. Indeed. Vinny says Piton dropped Diddy music today. Did not help. What does that mean? Oh, like, isn't he being investigated for some major crime? Yeah, Tom M says Ford is losing big money on EVs. Oh yeah, I think Tesla's the only auto OEM that makes money on EVs. The only one. I believe it's something along like $25,000 to $30,000 Ford loses for every EV they sell. So yeah, you're 100% right. Now, could you imagine if the US government starts to let Chinese auto OEMs, particularly EV manufacturers, sell their vehicles in the United States? Whew. I don't think it'll happen, right? Didn't the Biden administration just put a tariff on all new imports of Chinese EVs coming into the United States? Hey, Brad's Brain, what's up? This is buy high, or yeah, buy high, buy higher. Buy high, sell higher with good EPS and RS, etc. Indeed, indeed, my friend. At least that's the strategy I run. That's the strategy that I feel comfortable with. Brad, it felt like 107 degrees in South Florida. It felt absolutely glorious. Trade brigades is huge tariffs. Now, the interesting thing, number one, I think that was a good move by the Biden administration to do that. So 2 thumbs up there. But they're kind of going in like a Trump direction, because that was one of his proposals. But yeah, Brad says I loved every minute of it. I don't know. I love the hot weather. It's just, you know, the environment down there in South Florida was unreal. I get more and more impressed every time I go down there, and hopefully, fingers crossed, I'll be spending a lot more time down there the second half of this year and into 2025, please God. Speaking of EVs, I think this is a hybrid bus. Uh, 772 says, Tom, have you been to Dubai or the UAE territories? I have not, but I would absolutely love to visit. I don't know if I could ever live there though, because that's a little bit too hot, and it's a little bit too desertish for me. I didn't really like Nevada when I went there. Zozo Bob says the CHIPS Act was very good for the US. In the US, indeed it was. CHIPS Act is fantastic. Neighbor Bob says the Cybertruck excludes any working class guys. Oops. Like contractors from buying, it's not practical. So far, right? And that's the thing in any tech adoption cycle, by the way. The product is first made for the super fans. It's always like that. And over time, costs will get driven down, right? And that's always like that in every, That lady wasn't looking where she was going. But it's always like that in every tech cycle, right? Think about when a flat screen TV first came out. These things were $5,000. You could walk into a Walmart or a Target today and buy a flat screen TV for $700 on the high end, right? So over time, as production ramps, they could drive costs down while maintaining that margin. So you're 100% correct. It's not feasible for the average person to purchase a Cybertruck today, but in the future, it will be. And there's also more affordable options for Teslas. But you're 100% right. Kelly says Dubai is definitely worth the visit. Trade Brigades saw my first in-person Cybertruck the other day. It was very interesting. Trade Brigade, I think you might have just joined the stream. I don't know if you saw this photo that I saw on Sunny Isles Beach. I'm going to put it back up on the screen for you. If you saw it already, I apologize. But so I was driving up Collins, and there's this powder blue, matte blue Cybertruck. Incredibly cool. It looked cooler in person, but there you have it. Blue Cybertruck. Tom M says, can you recommend an A+ free site for pharma/biotech message boards? I cannot. I don't know any, and I don't have any expertise in biotech, particularly biotech investing. I don't think I have any edge there. I don't have a background in biology. I don't have a background in medicine. You know, biotech investing, I believe, and maybe I'm wrong, but this is just my opinion. Number one, you got to be smart. And number two, you have to have knowledge of the industry. Because a lot of these biotech stocks, particularly the lower market cap ones, they're very dependent on one drug. One drug is their entire product. So there could be news about an FDA approval, like clinical trials may be going great. They're like, wow, we just had a great clinical trial. And then the stock is up 1,000%. And then guess what? News breaks right on the market open that the FDA didn't approve their drug, and the stock goes to zero because they only have one product, which is that drug. So I guess my thesis is, number one, I'm not smart enough to know which drug is better than the other. I'm not smart enough to know how to make these drugs. Now, there's a lot of entrepreneurial firms who specialize in rare disease drug companies. So what they'll do is they'll find a very old drug that's outdated, that services this very, very rare disease that maybe only, let's say, 1,000 people globally get every year. which creates a little bit of an interesting, sector in the market, because the big pharmaceutical companies, they're never going to invest any sizable amount of R&D, right? Research and development dollars into a drug that only goes to service 500 people a year, right? They're going to power all the R&D into the big players, right? They're going to have a huge TAM. So this could allow, entrepreneurs to buy these old drugs, raise the price substantially, and with the profits, they can invest all that money into improving the drug and making a better drug. And there's been a lot of those type of companies that were publicly traded, those biotech firms. But again, I'm just not smart enough to know why this drug is better than the other. It's just not my wheelhouse. I mean, maybe that's your thing, but I don't have any type of education in that at all. Like, negative education I have in that. Very famously, anybody familiar with the gentleman Martin Shkreli? Sure, that name may ring a bell. He was one of those entrepreneurs that would acquire these very, very outdated drugs that would go to help, a couple hundred people a year. He would acquire them, raise the price, and then with the proceeds of the price hike, he would invest in R&D to try to make a newer and better drug. Hey, Triple G says, look for possible M&A activity when investing in biotech. Trade Brigades has lost about, 75% of one of my first trading accounts in biotechs. Definitely learned the hard way. Yeah, I mean, you could make a fortune in biotech, but you could also lose a fortune. I guess you could say that about any industry, but when I think about, like, to Trade Brigade's point, right? Like, you could lose, like, he lost 75% in one of his trading accounts. There was probably somebody, right, out there that had some information that said, wow, this drug is going to flop. It's going to fall on its face. It's not going to get FDA approval. They probably had inside knowledge. Maybe they were, I'm not going to say it was insider trading, but if you have that level of expertise, it's hard for the average guy or girl who's just, reading the paper and doing their diligence to be in the know on a company like that. It's very difficult. So if you're smart and you have an edge, you can make a fortune. But if not, and you don't really know what's going to happen with these companies, like Trade Brigade said, the thing could gap down 75% on the open on some news that you had no idea about. All right, everybody, this is 15 Central Park West. It's a beautiful, beautiful building right here in New York City. It's also nicknamed the Limestone Building. Former CEO of Goldman Sachs, Lloyd Blenkenfein, I believe, has a unit in that building still. Hey, what's up, Robert? Mars says, wasn't he jailed for that? No, he was not. He was not jailed for that. Trade Brigades' phase 3 trials, the whole nail biter of waiting for approvals. Yeah, definitely puts too many gray hairs on your head for sure. Now, I mean, we could get into a whole thing about Martin Shkreli, but I really think they just made an example out of him. He would, and it's my view, he would have never, ever, 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 ever in a million years went to prison ever if he didn't make that tweet about Hillary Clinton. That's just my take. And the media is very disingenuous. And I'm not trying to, be a Shkreli apologist or anything, but if you look at the facts, nothing that he went to jail for had anything to do with his pharmaceutical companies. But they just use that as a political ploy to kind of pull the heartstrings, of Americans. He went to jail for securities fraud, for commingling funds between companies, right? So he had a hedge fund, and he used some of the profits and the proceeds from other companies he was running to give that to his investors. Which you may be thinking, well, why is that even illegal? If all of, his hedge fund clients made money, why would you go to jail for that? Well, you can't be dishonest, and it's a slippery slope, right? So if I'm making a bunch of money, let's just give an example, right? This is just an example. If I'm making money, on this YouTube channel, for example, right? And if I'm making, let's say $50,000 a month in YouTube AdSense, and then I go to a friend and say, hey, you should invest in my hedge fund. And then I give him $50,000 as a return. I say, hey, I made this money in the stock market, but I didn't. It was from my other business. Well, that's fraud, because then you could really, really convince people to invest more and more and more money with you. And then guess what? That's a Ponzi scheme, similar to what happened with Bernie Madoff. Because if you can fake very good returns, more people are more likely and more willing to invest with you and give you more money, which could potentially spiral out of control, lead to the creation of a Ponzi scheme, in which case the only way it works is if new money continues to pour into the firm. So that's kind of why. Neighbor Bob's is Pacers +9 tonight. Oh yeah, the New York Knicks are out of it. That's too bad. I was really hoping the Knicks would make a big playoff run. It's unfortunate. Oh well. Yeah, NYC is busy tonight. It really is. For a Tuesday, seems like there's a lot of events going on, particularly here right outside of the Deutsche Bank Center. Now, pretty soon we're going to start to see the Hampton Jitney. I believe the Hampton Jitney will pick you up right outside of Lincoln Center and take you all the way to the Hamptons. This is one of my favorite views in the city. You have 220 Central Park South, Central Park Tower, and Steinway. Photos from around New York. They have all the next year to go all the way. True. Trade Brigades is where the Rangers are still in it on the hockey side. Yeah, but the, what is it called? The Rangers fans, I don't think are as rowdy as the New York Knicks. I mean, we've been doing some of the live streams around Madison Square Garden. When the Knicks win a game, it's like these people go insane. Even if the Knicks win one basketball game, they go crazy. But with the Rangers, not so much. I think Knicks fans are just a different breed of people. Peters' Memorial Day weekend is coming in a couple of days, so people are off and touristing. That's true, and it's going to be Fleet Week too, right? I think Fleet Week is Memorial Day weekend. Maybe I'm mixing that up. Because there was Fleet Week in Miami, I think 2 weeks ago. Michael says, hey Tom, are you planning on living in Miami full time? Probably not. An ideal situation. Oh, Keith says the Metro North is packed right now. Really? Oh, well, yeah. When I landed at JFK, I took the air train to Jamaica, and I took the Long Island Railroad into Grand Central. And wow, it was so packed. It seemed like everybody actually showed up to the office today, which we'll probably see more often now that the weather's getting nice. But yeah, I don't know if I would ever live in Miami full time. I think the ideal situation will probably be split 50-50, but But yeah, it's an interesting conversation about the biotech investing, because if you have a background in biology, like let's say if you went to college to study biology, you could make quite the fortune if you really study like PubMed and have that edge. I think, you know, a lot of people think the efficient market theory, right? If you ever do some research on that, I think the one area of the market where there's always irrational mispricings is probably in biotech, because at a flip of a switch, the total addressable market of the company could go from 0 to $50 billion. It's unfortunate, I just don't have the wherewithal to kind of understand. I'm just not a biotech guy. I think you need to be a special type of person. You really got to be educated to understand it. Hey, what's up, Room C? What's going on? This is Tom. It's been a while. Hope you're well. I'm doing good. I'm sure you're well, because, I mean, talk about a true market leader. American Express performing really, really well. Amex has been a leading stock. And we have Nvidia tomorrow. That's another thing. So pretty much the entire market is riding on the coattails of Nvidia. But overall, I'd say earnings season, and we've been pretty much covering every single company in depth. We've been covering it in the newsletter too. Earnings have really been strong. I would say the only kind of concerns that we've been seeing, which is going to sound like I'm contradicting myself, because the financial sector is very healthy in the US, particularly the investment banks, and specifically the boutique investment banks that are very, very heavily dependent on deal flow, right? Investment banking fees and the like, equity underwriting, debt. They've been crushing it because the market's opening back up. Private equity's been doing good. KKR, Blackstone, Apollo. But on the consumer side, consumer banking side, you're starting to see delinquencies kind of perk up here a little bit. In terms of 30, 60, 90 on credit card delinquencies, auto loans, really just all consumer debt. We're pretty much back at pre-pandemic levels and going higher. So not like a 5-alarm flag right now, but it's a trend to watch. It was interesting, Walmart reported earnings a few days ago. Stock gapped up into new all-time record highs, crushed it, but the CEO, I'm not sure if anybody saw this, CEO of Walmart came on the call and said, we had accelerating sales helped by the more affluent consumer. Did anybody see that excerpt on the call? If you haven't, just go to Walmart's investor relations page. And he said, we had a very, very robust quarter from wealthier individuals shopping at Walmart, but we think it's going to be very difficult to keep those customers there. Because Walmart traditionally is not an experience store. It's not, you don't go to Walmart to have a luxury experience, right? Like you do at Whole Foods and things like that. It's convenience, low cost, cheap. So who knows, maybe Walmart will start to change its marketing a little bit. And that's also telling you something about the higher end consumer. If they're trading down from Whole Foods and shopping at Walmart more often, well, what does that say about the very tippy top? I don't know. All right, let me plug in my phone. Give me a second. Four, 5/8 says Walmart does really well in a recession. Now, speaking of recession, 4, 5, 6. It's called Church and Dwight. I'm sure everybody's heard of the company. I believe the ticker symbol CHD for Church and Dwight. Usually when that stock is outperforming, right? When I mean outperformance, if you run a screen and you compare the monthly performance to like some of the higher beta names, if Church & Dwight is outperforming at the moment, you really know it's kind of a crummy market, because a lot of times institutions will hide out in those names, those very, very safe kind of like staple names. And that's how you can kind of identify a sector rotation. So check out, just put Church & Dwight on your watch list and always watch it. If we go into a massive recession, which we're not going to, in my view. If anything, I don't think people are prepared for the power of this massive economic bull run that we're going to have over the next 10 years. Almost everybody on the street is cautious. Even Jamie Dimon's coming out here and saying, hey, I'm a little bit cautious, on the outlook of the economy. I think this is really going to surprise everybody. Now, not saying that the market will never go down, okay? That we're just coming out of a correction. The S&P was down about 6% correction. We came out new all-time record highs last week. But over the next 10 years, with all of this innovation, with all this automation, AI, machine learning, you'll be surprised, I think, with how high this market's going to go over the next 10 years. Hey, Trade Brigade, have a good one. Thanks so much for joining us, and I'm sure I'll talk to you tomorrow for Nvidia's earnings. But anyway, yeah, if Church & Dwight's doing good in a recession, everybody's still going to be buying toothpaste. You'll still be buying baking soda and regular household products. So. Now, you know what's another company that's been performing exceptionally well? Eli Lilly. That broke out on big volume today. Huge volume. People were running that up into the highs. And I think Eli Lilly is the 10th by market cap, is number 10 in the S&P 500. Oh, Zozo Bob, since you're in the chat, I was at the Turnberry Ocean Club Residences in Sunny Isles Beach last week. I'm sure you're familiar with it. You've probably been there. I can't tell you how impressed I was with that property. Unbelievable property. I would say that is of high caliber, like Extel's buildings. Maybe even a little bit better. And that's crazy for me to say that, but Jeff Sofer, wow, amazing developer. Turnberry Ocean Club Residences, Sunny Isles Beach, incredible. Fountain Blue developers, unbelievable. We have Barclays Investment Bank here. Hey Jeff, hey Tom, I was in one of the Turnberry high-rises about 35 years ago. My friend's grandparents lived there. I mean, those properties are crazy. Just really, really well done. Oops, hold on 1 second. Hey, Ozzy, Tom always seems to chant about how great and strong the economy is, but why doesn't he ever mention the fact that tons of middle class people are on the verge of bankruptcy from personal debt? We just talked about that, I think, quite literally 15 minutes ago. Or maybe even less. You know, that was one of the major trends we're watching that has come out of earnings season for all the big banks. We talked about credit card delinquencies are pretty much at pre-pandemic trend now. We're back to Q4 2019 levels in 30, 60, 90-day delinquencies. And we're back and superseded that for auto loans and personal loans. We talk about that all the time. And if you want a complete breakdown with primary sources, okay, with actual excerpts from JP Morgan Chase, Goldman Sachs, Bank of America, if you want to see the earnings decks or the slides, scan the QR code on your screen, punch in your email, because we included that in our newsletter. Every single earnings season, at the start of earnings season, when the big banks report, we go to the investor relations page of all the banks, JP Morgan Chase, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, everybody. We take screenshots of the deck, okay, the presentation, and we track those trends. And I give it to you guys for free every other Thursday. So if you'd like to read that, you can just scan the QR code on your screen, punch in your email. There's about 24 months of archived research, and that's what we do. I write the piece. This is why I write that piece. I give it to you guys for free. So take advantage of it. No, but to your point, Ozzy, you're 100% right. The economic recovery has been a little bit lopsided, to your point, right? And we've talked about why I think that is the case. And for me, it's quantitative easing for too long. Because since 2008, or the lows of 2008, when the Federal Reserve had to essentially leave interest rates at zero and go on a bond buying binge, right, buying mortgage-backed securities, buying U.S. Treasuries, what that has done is, yeah, it's helped the labor market recover. So we're almost at full employment in the U.S., 3.8% unemployment or whatever it is, but it simultaneously inflates the assets that middle-class people don't have, right? The majority of the assets in terms of real estate, in terms of equities, are owned by the top 10% of Americans. So this economic boom, although everybody has a job and most people are, still scraping by, it's just absolutely taken wealthy people to the stratosphere. I mean, they're so rich. It's like a cartoon, like cartoonishly rich, like Scrooge McDuck, jumping into that big pile of money. That's what quantitative easing does. It sends asset prices skyward and it creates a multiple expansion. But yeah, I'll try to talk a little bit more about that aspect. But guys, I gotta cut it short tonight. Unfortunately, I gotta get to sleep at a reasonable hour. Usually when I travel, I like to get 8 hours of sleep. Because for whatever reason, whenever I travel and I don't sleep the night before or the night after, I get sick. And I don't want to get sick. So I'm going to go to sleep. And I will see you all tomorrow at 8:30. Hopefully we'll be on time. So thank you so much, Juicer. Peter, I'll give you an update on that. Everybody, enjoy your night. If you enjoyed the stream, feel free to leave a like on the video. Click the subscribe button if you're new. And we will meet back here tomorrow to talk about Nvidia. So take care and welcome back to New York, everybody. Take care.